Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. I will call the Select Board meeting to order at 5:30, but we're going to go to County first. And we do have Malcolm McNabb online.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will call to order the October 22nd, 2025 County Commissioners meeting at 5:31. First up is announcements. County Commission meeting is being audio and video recorded. Next up is public comment for any items not on our agenda tonight. Select Board will also be holding public comment. So if there are any comments for county, seeing none, we'll move on to there is no new business. Next up is approval of minutes and warrants for September 17th at 5:30 and payroll and treasury warrants. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Oh, also I will note that all votes will be taken by roll call tonight as Dr. McNabb is remote. So moved by Dawn, seconded by Matt. All those in favor by roll call. Matt?
Aye.
Dawn?
Aye.
Brooke?
Aye.
Malcolm?
Aye.
And chair votes aye. Those passed unanimously. Next up is official business. And first order of business is Housing Office request for County Commission to submit a joint comment letter with Nantucket Affordable Housing Trust to the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities, EOHLC, addressing proposed seasonal communities regulation. Here tonight is the Municipal Housing Director, Chrissy Ferrantella. Chrissy?
Thank you, Chair. So before you in your packet is a draft letter that was endorsed by the Affordable Housing Trust to jointly send to the Planning Commission and PDC, and they'll be compiling letters to submit on behalf of the County Commissioners, the Affordable Housing Trust members, the Planning Board, and the Planning Commission. And this is in response to the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities draft regulations on seasonal community guidance. As the Affordable Housing Trust and the County Commissioners, we drafted a letter to basically go over some of the key points that we felt were missing in the guidelines or things that we'd like to see improved in terms of how they define a year-round housing unit, how community land trust may be able to be recognized as enforcers of restrictions in conjunction with the town, and making sure that ongoing municipal preference and SHI eligibility are clearly defined. We also need more clearance on the year-round housing trust and how to implement that new structure that's been put forth through the seasonal communities, as well as requesting that the deed restrictions are included in perpetuity rather than for 30 years as a maximum. So those are the key points of the letter. And if approved by this would go to the county commissioners at their next meeting, which is on Monday, and all comments are due. And PDC, sorry. All comments are due to the EOHLC by October 31st. We also encourage the public that they can also comment, and all of that information is on the Affordable Housing Trust's agenda on how to submit comments.
Got it. Thank you, Christy. And the letter is in our county packet, which is on the town and county website. Commissioners' comments on the letter or a motion to approve?
The letter was really well done. Thank you. I'll move approval.
Second.
Motion made by Matt, seconded by Dawn. All those in favor by roll call. Matt?
Aye.
Dawn?
Aye.
Brooke?
Aye.
Malcolm?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. That passed unanimously. Thank you, Christy.
Thank you.
Excellent letter. Next up is Sheep Pond Road. Request for approval and execution of Fourth Amendment to Temporary Easement Agreement between County of Nantucket, Nantucket Conservation Foundation, et cetera, as enumerated in the packet. Real Estate Manager Tracy McDonald is here to present this item. Tracy?
Thank you, Chair Dixon. On March 26, 2025, the County Commissioners executed a third amendment to the temporary easement for the Sheep Pond homeowners, which expired September 24th, 2025. In September, the town had not received approval from Natural Heritage for the permit for the road construction, and I reached out to the Head of Plains owners for an extension through the end of the year, and they agreed. We do anticipate the road construction will be completed by year end, and I am requesting the approval and execution of this fourth amendment to the temporary easement agreement between the County of Nantucket and the Nantucket Conservation Foundation, Benjamin G. Gifford and Jane Carlin, Nine Hop LLC, and Edmund J. Cianava and Maria E. Cianava over the portion of land on Head of Plains Road for the purposes of the county's completion of its permitting and construction of the permanent alternate easement roadway for the Sheep Pond Road residents.
Thank you, Tracy.
So you don't have to say the whole motion.
Got it. Any commissioners' comments to Tracy? Also, just noting that Town Council Vicky Marsh is
Correct.
online as well.
There's a typo in sheep at the very end.
Yeah,
Needs
fix
another
it.
E.
I fixed that.
Ship Pond. So
Ship Pond.
I'll move approval of the motion as written, as read by
Second.
Tracy.
Motion is made by Brooke, second by Matt. All those in favor by roll call, Brooke?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
Dawn? Malcolm?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. That passed unanimously. Thank you, Tracy. You're still up.
I'm still going to keep going.
B is request for approval of temporary access easement between Nantucket Conservation Foundation and county to allow construction of new road.
Correct. So in anticipation of the issuance of the permit and scheduling the construction for the roadway, Nantucket Conservation Foundation agreed to provide a temporary access agreement to the town Department of Public Works to undertake the construction of the roadway, which should take approximately 4 to 6 weeks once they begin. This will provide the town the ability to have the road in place prior to the expiration of the temporary easement I previously presented, and I request that you approve and execute the temporary access agreement between the Nantucket Conservation Foundation, Inc. and the County of Nantucket for the grant of a temporary easement by Nantucket Conservation Foundation to the county over a portion of its property for access and construction of roadway easement for the benefit of Sheep Pond Road residents, subject to town council's approval of revisions to the temporary access agreement.
Thank you, Tracy. Any questions or a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Brooke, seconded by Matt. All those in favor by roll call, Brooke?
Aye.
Matt?
Aye.
Dawn?
Aye.
Malcolm?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. That passed unanimously. Thank you, Tracy, and you are still up.
I'm still up.
Next up is Tacoma Green request for approval and execution of license agreement to grant licensee the right of use to allow residents and occupants of Tacoma Green apartments to use parking spaces, et cetera, as enumerated in number 3 in the packet. So I'll throw it off to Tracy, and noting that town council is online for this as well.
Correct. So for this matter, we have town council online, as well as counsel for Halkeen, Kate McGar, and a couple of other Halkeen representatives. I'm requesting a vote to approve and execute the license agreement between the County of Nantucket and Tacoma Apartments Leasehold Condominium LLC for the use of 32 of the 51 spaces in the designated parking area on Waite Drive shown on the plan that was included in your packet. The parking will be for the use by the residents and occupants of the Tacoma Green Apartments located at 4 Waite Drive and 6 Fairgrounds Road, as provided in the special permit issued by the Nantucket Planning Board on November 27, 2017. And the Planning Board reviewed this matter at their September 8th meeting and made a positive recommendation. I'm going to turn it over to Town Council Vicky Marsh to provide a more comprehensive explanation. And as I stated, we also have counsel for Halkeen online.
Thank you. Good evening, Vicky.
Good evening, Mr. This license is going to provide the occupants and residents of Tacoma Green Apartments with parking permits that they can use in the designated spaces that are shown on the plan. This is a plan that we reviewed with the police chief, and she has agreed that the police department will be enforcing the parking licenses that will be issued. The designated spaces will be given to residents when they come to the police department and present evidence of their lease and of a license plate for their car. so that the police department will be able to monitor the proper parking in this area. This was an arrangement that was arrived at due to the special permit conditions in which it required that the town would agree to provide parking off-site on Waite Drive. At the time that this permit was granted, the Waite Drive had not been constructed as of that time, and the town agreed that they would construct it wide enough to allow for the parking spaces to be constructed in that area and provide for passage of the cars in that area. So this is a plan that will provide the compliance with the special permit and provide the residents that will be living there with enough parking for everyone that is required under the permit. There are additional parking spaces as well on site in their parking area, so they will have use of those spaces for not only their residents, but also for guests, invitees, employees. I'm here to answer any questions if you have any.
Commissioners' comments, questions on this motion?
My only comment is it was the plan all along, so
No, I look at it differently. I don't think we should be assigning 114 spaces, 32 on street. I think to that specific thing, there's going to be a lot of other uses here, and we can't give everybody 2 parking spaces, almost 2 parking spaces. I talked to some of the planning board members prior to the hearing and made my opinion, known. I had hoped that they would assign 1 inside their property and let people park in the shared spaces. So I think it's a mistake to assign everything here. We don't have enough land to turn everything into parking lots. So I can't support it. Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Please.
I recall that we got funding from the state for the construction of Waite Drive based on the fact that it was related to the Tacoma Green project. And so I'm in favor of supporting this. It's been a long time, so people forget, but there was a grant from the state that was connected. Tucker's here. I can't remember the name of the program, but it was applied for based on the fact that Tacoma Green was going to be built. So I think we made commitments years ago that we should follow through on.
And perhaps Vicki can, Attorney March can address.
Yeah, Vicki, do you have anything to add? And then Malcolm, I'll come back to you.
Mr. Chair, yes, I do. So that project, the grant that Brooke was referring to is a Mass Works project and was able to provide significant amount of money for the construction of that roadway. But what I'd like to emphasize is the fact that the parking plan is what the plan that actually was provided and decided upon in the special permit by the planning board. So it's not as if this plan was a different plan than what was mandated in that decision.
Thank you, Vicki. Don, I'm going to go to Malcolm first. Malcolm?
Yes, I tend to agree with Matt. I think he made a good point. But why are we having, if this is already approved, why are we talking about this? I'm confused.
Dawn?
This was what was the original part of their permit, and I.
Erica?
To
Vote for
Dr.
it.
McNabb's question, I would just say, you are talking about this as the county commissioners, because although the planning board made it as part of their approval, you have the authority over the roadway, because it is a county road, so it's ultimately up to you. So you need to make the final decision.
Got it. Tucker, did you want to add?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. As town council pointed out, $1.5 million came through the Mass Works program for creation of Waite Drive because it was serving housing, as Brooke pointed out. The other thing I just simply wanted to mention that having the dedicated parking, I believe, was very important to the neighbors across Tacoma Way who were very concerned about parking flowing into that area.
Thank you, Tucker.
One more comment.
Yeah, Matt.
I didn't forget. anything, and I don't think that the money was contingent on us assigning parking on street for this. There's also a picture in our packet that has no parking across the street. I think we should have angle parking across the street in front of those houses too, and not, I hope that that yellow line isn't there forever. So I'm making this as a policy statement. I think that the right hand should know what the left hand is doing, and we shouldn't be in these situations forced to vote with something that might not be good long-term policy. So that, I understand I want it to happen. I know the vote's probably going to be 3-2, 4-1, but I just would like us to talk about these things and understand these things prior to committing us to it. And so I can't, in good conscience, go along with it. Thank you.
Tracy?
I just want to say, like, the special permit is the very specific guidelines within the special permit. And I don't know if Vicky can speak to what it would require to amend that, but I believe it would be a modification, and that would delay the project.
And Tracy, am I correct that there are some grant assurances tied up by it closing in a timeframe by the end of the year that,
Christie and Vicky would have to speak to that.
okay. Chrissy?
Just wanted to clarify, there are a lot of contingencies and deadlines in order for this to close this year, so a delay of this would halt the process of closing, which we're aiming for a November 6th financial closing, and construction to begin December 1st.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Please.
I just want to add that in reviewing the special permit that was issued, there were a lot of very specific requirements that they outlined as far as parking and traffic flow and signage. They very carefully went through and considered the best way to provide for the parking so that all of it was not on the site and therefore providing for very little green area at all on the site. And so this was a way for them to be able to provide for not all of the parking, but some of the parking to be put on Waite Drive. And I, although I was not in discussions with the planning board, you can see that it took considerable amount of time and effort to try to develop a plan that they felt at the time. And this goes back to 2017. So it's quite a while ago, and circumstances, have changed probably considerably out there, but they did take the time to try to consider the best method for parking in that area.
Thank you, Vicky. Matt?
I have a question. If we find in the future assigning 144 spaces to a 66 unit is a mistake here, can we amend it then? If we find that that we are completely, maxed out here and there's no space for anyone to park, or we have to keep the parking, we can't build a town building, et cetera, can we then amend this? Can we go to the planning board and say, please amend this?
Can somebody from planning speak to this?
Megan Trudell is here. Megan, I'm not sure if you're prepared to speak, but if you would add some color.
On the spot. I missed the beginning part of the conversation, apologies, but it sounds like we're debating about the 32 or 51 spaces, is that correct?
Or the need for 114 in total.
So the zoning bylaw requires one parking space per bedroom, so this was a way for them to satisfy that criteria with a waiver to have it off-site to dedicate the 32 spaces to the project while still remaining technically compliant with the zoning bylaw. It was important to the planning board at that time, from my understanding, and the board just spoke to this recently, that the town would retain some flexibility in the sense that it would be more of a placard style arrangement where 32 parking passes would be issued, not assigned parking spaces, just so there would be the retention of some flexibility there. So a planning board special permit can absolutely always be amended. That process, requires a public hearing and notice and can take several months, but I can't speak to how a license agreement may or may not be amended, but I think, to remain compliant with the special permit, to remain compliant with the zoning bylaw, and to keep this project on track, it's important to advance this.
Thank you,
I
Megan.
hope that helps.
Thank you, Megan.
Maybe just to clarify how it would work, there are existing 54 spaces, I think, on Waite Drive. 4 of them are handicapped. This project has the handicap spaces for the project contained on site, so they would not need those. And the 32 placards would be for any one of the 51 remaining spaces. So, you know, it's not actually assigned like by a number. They would have a designated parking pass and could park in an available space within that area.
Right, and this program that you've come up with has been discussed with the police chief and yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. What's the pleasure of the commission? Anybody have anything additional?
No, I'm prepared to move approval.
I'll second that.
Motion is made by Brooke, seconded by Dawn. All those in favor by roll call. Brooke?
Aye.
Dawn?
Aye.
Matt?
No.
Malcolm?
No.
Chair votes aye. That passes 3-2. Thank you, Tracy.
Thank you.
And thank you for everybody who was here tonight. Just happened to be here to speak on this item to lend a little more info to it. Next up is commissioners' reports and comments. Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn county
So
commissioners.
moved.
Second.
Moved by Dawn, second by Matt. All those in favor by roll call. Matt?
Aye.
Dawn?
Aye.
Brooke?
Aye.
Malcolm?
Yes.
Chair votes aye. We are adjourned. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yeah, thank you. Now we will start the select board meeting. And move to announcements.
This meeting is being video and audio recorded. The May 4th, 2026 annual town meeting warrant is now open for citizen warrant article submittals through Monday, November 17th at 4 p.m. Those articles require the signatures of at least 10 registered voters. We have a household hazardous waste collection event on this Saturday, October 25th, from 9 a.m. to noon at 188 Nantucket Road. We still have a survey open on input we are seeking from our residents on the future of our island home. The survey is open until October 31st, and the information is on the select board meeting agenda and on the town website. Hopefully everybody by now knows we have a special town meeting coming up on Tuesday, November 4th. It will start at 5 p.m. at the high school. The warrant is in the process of being mailed out to voters. The Nantucket Affordable Housing Trust has launched a year-round deed restriction pilot program. It is open for property owners, eligible homeowners, and home buyers to apply, and that information is online. It's a program that offers financial incentives to preserve or create year-round housing. There's no select board meeting next Wednesday, October 29th. We're back on Wednesday, November 5th. And that's it.
Okay, any opening select board reports or announcements or comments? I do have some updates from prior public comment questions. On the Loran station, questions from October 8th. Question, what did the 4.5 million appropriation in 2022 or 2023 actually pay for? Town response, the town of Nantucket's renovation of the former Loran station at Low Beach has been an extensive multi-year project transforming the aging Coast Guard barracks into functional seasonal housing for police personnel. After taking ownership in 2018, the town commissioned SMRT architects and engineers to assess the buildings, leading to a phased renovation plan. It is important to note that the Nantucket Police Department has been improving the Loran barracks in stages since 2019. The decision to renovate the barracks in phases was deliberate to ensure use each summer. Phase 1, completed in 2021 at a cost of $988,000, upgraded the men's dormitory exterior with new doors, windows, insulation, and cedar shingles. Phase 1A followed with asbestos and lead paint abatement, flooring replacement, and wall repairs, totaling over $472,271 and completed in early 2023. Phase 2 finished in June 2024 for $922,350, applied the same exterior upgrades to the women's dormitory and prepared a small garage for future living space. Phase 3, completed in June 2025 for $2.27 million, modernized interiors, creating new apartments, ADA-compliant bathrooms, upgraded electrical and HVAC systems, and new LED lighting. Phase 3A, finished in October 2025 for $374,250, replaced 11,775 square feet of roofing on both dormitories. Looking ahead, Phases 4 and 5 plan to complete remaining interior and site utility improvements, including plumbing, electrical, HVAC, and sewer connections, with Phase 4 estimated at $5.4 million and targeted for 2028 completion. A more detailed summary of the renovations can be found in the public comment and for the records page on the town website. Who is overseeing the dorms? Who is doing maintenance? Town response. The projects have been sponsored by the Nantucket Police Department, which is also responsible for routine maintenance of the site. While not formed as questions during public comment, the town provides the following information. Septic systems. Each of the men's and women's dormitory is served by its own septic system. This past summer, 2025, the lift pump for the septic, which services the women's dorm, suffered a mechanical problem. Due to the mechanical configuration of the septic system, it was deemed imprudent to attempt a repair during the dorm's seasonal use. The repairs have been scooped by Buzzsaw Construction, and the septic will be fully operational well ahead of next summer season. For the avoidance of doubt, the men's septic system is and has been fully functional. Health Department identification issues. The Public Health Department inspected the property and noted the following issues. Kitchen had loose tiles and no grout between tile and wall edge. Bathroom shower area had broken and or missing tiles. Bathroom shower area had ceiling air registers which were rusty. Missing window screens. All repairs were completed by October 12th, 2025. Contrary to a published news article, there was no mold found in either building, nor was there any mention of mold in the Health Department report. The report can be found on the public comment and for the records page of the town website. Finally, the Health Department re-inspected and deemed the repairs sufficient while adding an airflow issue to the shower toilet area. The department also requested the kitchen floor be changed from tile to epoxy. The town is exploring repair alternatives. The next one was from October 15th on the cost to live in town dorm-style housing. What is the rental rate for dormitory-style living versus town employee traditional housing units? What's the rent structure? Is it a flat rate? Does it vary where you live? How do you figure all that out? Town response. The town has established seasonal employee license fees that are directly based on and reflect the comprehensive year-round operational costs associated with running the facility throughout the year. This season, fees from $110 to $125 per week, a standard rate applied uniformly across both seasonal, harbor master, and police staff. All Town of Nantucket seasonal employees in town-owned dormitory-style housing pay the same fee regardless of their location. Next up, we have public comment for tonight for items that are otherwise not on our agenda for discussion.
Good evening, Amy Eldridge. I just had a quick, maybe it's not a question, but a suggestion. We're looking to include more diversity at like town meetings and things. Is there a way to look at getting the warrant and these agendas like in Spanish that we might, or Portuguese, that might encourage some of those registered voters to come and feel like they're included in our community and in the important decision-making in the community? I'm not sure if it's cost effective to print a whole bunch of them, but like the warrants, but like, could they be something people could download off a website that is translated and approved by you guys to make sure that it's correct? Because I feel like we're at a disadvantage in leaving out a significant portion of our community in these major costs and requests at town meeting, and maybe encouraging them to get into some local politics too. Like, but if they can't read this and understand it, they're not going to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Good evening.
How you doing? Cliff Williams, 11 Somerset Road. I was hoping that you could extend the town attorney's opportunity to do citizen articles. I just saw that last week at this meeting, and then I had to go away to work the next day, and I think it was over. Anyhow, that being said, 44 Skyline Drive, Clay Street development, which I attempted to do affordable housing for, I don't know, 4 years. I continue to see, like, governor came down, they want to do affordable housing. We talk about affordable housing, so I'm glad we've just done a brief on it. I'll read it. But I was hoping I could help the town out, because I really would love to build some affordable housing. I think I have enough people to do it affordably. I'd love to work with the governor. I really think 40Bs are a waste and not the answer. Maybe, I don't know if we've engaged that conversation with her. That being said, I can report that we've moved forward with Clay Street with a house and a swimming pool and a tennis court, and abandoned the affordable housing for town employees. So, yeah, I will talk to Christie, and I was hoping to see if I could get the information from the governor so I could contact her directly. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here this evening?
Hi there. Thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Stephen Cass. I live in Orleans. I have some friends here in Nantucket who thought I would be helpful about talking about your athletic facility plan at the high school. I know it's not part of your thing, but I'm out here, so I thought I would talk. Just about me quick, I played soccer at Yale long time ago. I got my MBA from Ohio State in athletic administration. I worked developing the master athletic campuses at both of those schools, worked on committees to do that. And I worked for the city of San Francisco for Gavin Newsom. I was his athletic facilities consultant and worked on lots of projects like this. So just, I only have 3 minutes. So the Nantucket project, I think the biggest thing I've looked at is you never build your stadium around a track. That's like athletic facility 101. That went out of style 40 years ago. And there's lots of reasons. I have a sheet here that has documents a lot of the things, so you can read about that. So I'll try to make my time, make good use of my time. But when you put your stadium around a track, you can't use your track when you're using the field, and vice versa. That's the biggest thing. It creates bad viewing, bad socialization. And the 17 million that's planned, you're not really solving any problems. You're not adding fields. You're not putting in artificial turf. Grass stadiums really don't work up in the Northeast because you have the 2 mud seasons, late fall, early spring. And so you're not going to end up with great fields. In fact, I went around your fields. They're not too bad. I don't know the whole story, but I thought they were pretty good. So there are some different location options. They're all imperfect, where you could build a stadium without a track, and I would suggest exploring those. Eventually you will, I suspect, might be a long time from now, but you'll get artificial turf. And you're going to want to have a stadium set up where you can just put that in. If you build your stadium around a track and you put the turf inside the track, you can't put throwing events for the track and field inside there, and you'll never be able to use the track if you put turf inside there. So, so one of the issues with projects, and you're not the only town, so many towns go through these challenges with their athletic facilities. And the main reason is the people who do the planning tend to be landscape architects and engineers. They don't have an athletic background. And I liken it to trying to design a golf course without a golf course architect. There's lots of opinions, but there's nobody who can parse everything properly. So just to talk about turf real quick, been through this a lot. I helped plan in San Francisco. And there was lots of pushback. When I was in Florida, it was about heat. Now it's PFAS. It's not the most environmentally friendly product, but most things we do, our cars, asphalt, concrete, they all have flaws. So I would, anyway, I'd love to help you guys out. It's something I do well. And thank you for letting me speak. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Okay, seeing no further public comments this evening. There's no new business. Approval of minutes, warrants, and pending contracts,
So moved?
or minutes
Second.
and warrants. All those in favor by roll call. Brooke Moore,
Aye.
Tom Dixon,
Aye.
Matt Fee,
Aye.
Malcolm McNabb,
Aye.
John Hill, aye. Those carry unanimously. Citizen Departmental Committee requests and reports. We have an update from National Grid on the smart metering program.
Thank you. We have Lisa Morgera from National Grid, along with Sean, nope, not Sean, with,
Mark.
is anybody else with you? Is Mark on? I'm not seeing him.
I'm not seeing him on, but I did tell him right around 6 o'clock, so I can start
Okay.
and he can jump.
Give me
in
one
if there's
second. I'll
any-
pull your presentation up.
Okay, great, thank you.
Go right on ahead, Lisa.
Great, thanks. Thanks everyone for the opportunity. I'm Lisa Morgera. I'm the community engagement lead for our AMI, our smart meter project in Massachusetts. So I'm working with a team of individuals on our meter field deployment team, our customer and our business readiness teams, getting folks like yourself and customers ready for their smart meter that will be installed over the next, across our state over the next several years. Next slide. We did present to the select board meeting back in, I believe it was April. Just a quick review of the functionality and benefits of AMI. For customers, the most important is the availability of usage, detailed usage information. So customers can log on to their National Grid My account and see their usage data that's updated every 15 minutes. Gives you the better ability to manage your household usage and therefore help manage your bill. It looks like Mark has joined, so thank you, Mark. On the National Grid side, you know, for us, this is a great project. And the fact that we're replacing our old, outdated and end-of-life meters, we're upgrading to a newer technology. This is state-of-the-art technology that's we're one of the first in the country to be using. For us, the meter has so many more capabilities than the meters that we're using now, and because that data is updated every 15 minutes that customers can see, National Grid can also use data to help us detect outages, see where outages are when we have outage areas, find those onesies or twosies at the end that we're still looking for. Allows customers to call National Grid if they have an outage, but we'll know about it as well. The meters give a last gasp when the meter has no power. Helps us identify an outage area, hopefully giving better response during storms. Also equipped with a bunch of alarms and notifications that come back to National Grid, such as overheating. We had an instance in New York where a customer had 2 EVs plugged into their garage, and the meter overheated, gave an alarm to National Grid. They investigated and probably prevented a fire in the customer's home. So a lot of great things in the back end and the guts of the meter. Next slide. Mark, do you want to cover this slide? You're on mute, Mark.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Apologize, joining a little bit late, some technical difficulties on the laptop operator's end on this side of the equation. So thank you, Lisa, and thanks to the select board for inviting us back for an update on the Nantucket AMI progression. So a quick few updates here. The installation plan for residential consumers has begun, began the first day of the month of October, so about 3 weeks ago today. And we will be focusing on residential consumers at the outset. And so we've got about 3 weeks of experience so far. We are using all National Grid technicians to perform this work. And other than some rain days that have slowed the pace a little bit on those days, things have gone pretty much as expected. We have a combination of local and mainland resources performing the work. And we expect that to continue with some schedule breaks through the winter months and conclude in the springtime of 2026. And by that time, we'll be ready to begin for commercial customer installation as well. There's a quick update to the third bullet that's on the slide in front of you. As of yesterday, we were at, I believe, just over 1,800 residential meters deployed. Just to put that in terms of perspective, that's about 15% of the population so far over the course of 3 weeks. So things are going as expected, which is kind of boring, but boring is okay when we come to a large scale deployment like this. And again, as expected, and as at least Lisa referred to, in the prior meeting that we attended, there is a short power outage during the meter change process. And that is due to safety testing reasons. When we remove the meter, the lights go out. The technician at the premise performs some safety testing, and assuming all things go well, the new meter is then installed and will continue on, and no more outages are experienced due to the meter change process after that. So things, again, they're going as expected. There is a hyperlink that's provided in the slide deck that can be reviewed for further smart meter program information, and that link is live as of today. So short duration, our slide says 10 minutes. Our experience is something less than that. We'd like to prepare folks, just to be aware of that if something does happen. And then we move on from that premise to the next one that the technician has. So next slide, please.
Okay, Mark, I'll take over here. So for some have already received some of this communications, again, a review here. There is a link that is provided to all of our customer communications you can see online. We are currently in that 60-day, 30-day, 10 and day of install timeframe with Nantucket customers. So 60 days prior to install, there's a letter. 30 days prior, there'll be such things as a bill insert, a welcome brochure, an email or letter. There's a video online that gives you some additional information. About 10 days prior, there'll be a text, email, or robocall that tells you that the installers will be there within the next couple of weeks. And on the day of the install, the installers will be there and would leave a door hanger to note that the installation has completed. People may come home and see the blinking lights. Next slide, please. So I included here some frequently asked questions. Some are a review that we included before. Some are new that Erica had brought to my attention that came in from some of the local residents. So I wanted to address those. First one being, do I need to be home at the time of the install? And no, if your meter is located outside, you don't need to be home. If it's located inside your home, the National Grid would be setting up an appointment with you to get inside and access to the meter. Customers are often asking, I don't have Wi-Fi or I don't have internet at my house. Will my meter work? And so we're not depending on any Wi-Fi or internet connection of the customers to transmit the data. You only need internet service if you're going to monitor your own usage through the My Account portal. So we're utilizing and we're setting up our own network of communications, so nothing needed on the customer's end. I'll turn it over to Mark. Mark and I are going to kind of flip-flop between these, so I'm going to turn over to Mark for the next one.
Yep. So question, yeah, and this one comes up quite a bit. Is this meter safe? And similar to the current generation of meters that are in service now, there are some radio frequencies that are associated with that. The current version uses an encoder, receiver, transmitter, or what's generically referred to as an ERT. And with electric meters, that ERT is always on. And even though for the purposes of drive-by data collection, we visit those neighborhoods only once a month, that meter is always on today. The same will be true with AMI meters. There is a different type of transmitter associated with that It is very, very low level. There is some information that is available on the site Launchpad that provides comparisons of what the radio frequencies are in relation to other electronic devices. We do believe this is inherently safe and is similar to other low-level radio frequency devices that are commonly in use today.
Great. Next slide, please. So the next question is on data privacy. A lot of folks are concerned that with the wireless transmission of data, that there's some, obviously people are concerned about hacking or data getting, out into somebody else's hands. This project and what goes behind the back end data transmission has been scrutinized at the highest level at National Grid. They're using an encrypted network, meaning even higher than national standards. And as a reminder, the smart meters don't collect or transmit any personal information, so only usage data. So there'll be an encrypted customer number that comes through with the usage data every 15 minutes, but then again, no personal information. So pretty safe, pretty secure, and we continue to monitor this pretty frequently and revisit anything that we need to and update what needs to be happening on our end. I'm going to turn it over to Mark for the next two questions.
Sure. I live at another location for weeks or months at a time, for instance, seasonal residency. If I'm not at home for the meter installation, what can I expect while I am away? And this is largely true of what you can expect if you're a full-time resident at a residence on Nantucket. You do not need to be home. If we do have access to a meter, we will still knock on the door, trying to make contact with somebody who may be on site that day. If we do have access to it, we will attempt to perform the meter change. There shouldn't be anything different for seasonal residents staying for full-time in terms of the outage or the duration. We describe it as less than 10 minutes, with all things being equal and in good shape. The downtime is typically as short as it is at a seasonal residence as at a full-time residence. There can be just a short-lived duration, and then all the circuits inside the premise are available for use after the meter change is completed. So nothing out of the ordinary than you wouldn't expect any other time. And we try to make it as brief as we can. And again, if everything is in good working order, it just involves manually removing the meter, performing some safety testing, and again, assuming everything goes fine, physically installing the new meter. It really doesn't take that long, all things being equal. And frequently it is far less than 10 minutes, at the premise level. Next frequently asked question, will my house generator be impacted by the meter exchange? And the short answer is yes. Generally, a premise that has a standby generator will detect when the meter comes out of the meter socket as a no power condition from the utility. And if you had an automated transfer switch, that is generally going to activate at that time and ask the standby generator to turn on at the premise. And again, there's a multitude of different types of manufacturers of transfer switches, but they're all basically designed to kind of do the same thing. They detect when the utility power goes out, and that could be either an outage or when the meter comes out of the socket. The generator receives the signal to turn on. Generator turns on. Once the meter change is complete, the same transfer switch should detect normal utility power being restored. Some of them have a certain holdback time. It's going to be detected for a certain duration of time before the generator will turn off. But as long as the transfer switch operates normally and as intended, yes, it will turn on, and yes, it will turn off once the meter change is complete.
Next slide, please. This is a question I wanted to add in this time based on some feedback from Erica and her team. What if I don't want a smart meter? Do I have to get one? And so no, if you decide you do not want a smart meter installed, you can choose to have a conventional or what we call a non-communicating meter installed instead. But since this meter doesn't transmit transmit any data automatically. It will need to be read manually by a representative, and there's a monthly fee associated with that service. I've included a link to the opt-out form there. It's an online form with information that you have on your utility bill, name, address, contact phone number, your account number, meter number, things that are all located on your bill. Once you submit that, you'll get a confirmation saying that we've received it. At this time, we're not installing any of the manual meters, but when that part of the process is going to begin, you would get a second letter asking you to authorize the opt-out, which then would authorize the fees to be added to your account. The fees do cover the vehicle fuel costs, obviously field resources and other expenses. The monthly meter reading fee, as is noted there, is $26 a month for this service. You are not charged a one-time change-out fee if you originally opted out and then opt back in to receive a smart meter. But if you did receive a smart meter and you are opting out after it's been installed, the reinstallation fee is that one-time change-out fee is $33. So important to note too, landlords are not able to opt out on behalf of the tenants unless they are the account owner. The form must be completed by the customer of record or the National Grid account owner, as the fees are applied at the account level.
Can I ask a question about that?
Sure.
Yeah, it's $312 a year plus fees to, to put it back in, take it back out again or put it back in again. How many people opt out?
I don't know the current number in Massachusetts. Right now, we don't have any opt-out authorizations, meaning nobody has a manual meter and nobody is paying a fee. At this point, what we're collecting is customers who have shown that they do not want the meter for whatever reason. There are people that have EMF sensitivities. There's people that do not trust the privacy, whatever it may be. Again, we've a pretty robust FAQs on our website to address many of the common asked questions around it. But if someone wants to opt out, they're just letting us know that they don't want it. So in that case, we would just skip that home. When we are going to install the manual meters, we would come back to them and say, here's some more information on the project. Do you have any questions we can answer? They are offered our call center line to get some questions answered. If they would like to cancel their opt-out, they just call our call center, and then they would be scheduled for an AMI meter to be installed. If they choose to continue the opt-out, then they would receive those fees. So right now, I don't know the number. I used to track the opt-outs myself. I don't know the number off the top of my head, but Massachusetts, where, like I said, we're only tracking the customers who have the opt-out intent, we call it.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions before I move on? Okay,
Any
Mark,
other questions?
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm worried about the risk to electronics if the date and time of the installation and the power outage, because you're not actually scheduling it, right? So I'm wondering whether people need to be concerned about having delicate electronics plugged in on the swap out day.
Yeah,
ahead.
thank you. There is the opportunity to make an appointment if you have particular devices that are sensitive, and that way you can be offered, a more specific time and the opportunity to, for instance, unplug those particular devices that you want to ensure remain in good working order, and things like that. So the other part of it too is, we're asking our technicians to, always knock before beginning work. If it so happened that a resident was home and had the same sensitivity, that discussion could take place at the time that the technician's there. And it could be as simple as, hey, would it be possible if you came back in an hour, to give me the opportunity to unplug those things. So there is that flexibility, one more formal, one a little bit less formal. But either way, it's designed to give you the opportunity, to take that that good opportunity to either unplug, add another surge protector, whatever the case may be. We're not here to do damage, and we'll figure out a way to work with you to try to avoid that.
And that's true for our medical customers as well, because we know customers rely on certain medical equipment that can't have a power interruption. So therefore, making an appointment for those customers gives them the flexibility of having, make sure they have backup or they're out of the home, and able to, have that outage without disturbing any medical equipment they may have.
We do have Malcolm's hand up as well.
Oh, go ahead, Malcolm.
Malcolm, unmute.
Okay, thank you. I have two questions. First, an environmental question. What are you going to do with all these old meters? What happens to them? I mean, that's a significant amount of metal and so forth.
Yeah, great question, Malcolm. I know Mark is a little more closer to that process, so I'll let him take this one and I can fill in if needed.
Yeah, we have a contract with a materials recycling company for both our mainland and Nantucket Island operations to recover those items that are reusable with a vendor. So we've got that in hand.
And thank you. My other question, Lisa, if I may call you that, when you started, you talked about, you seemed to be proud that this was new and you were first in the nation or something. I always get concerned when someone is first or at the cutting edge, because sometimes you haven't really thought everything through.
So, yeah, I mean, and I get it. A benefit for us in Massachusetts is that our sister company in New York started this deployment about a year and a half to 2 years prior to us. So good, bad, or ugly, we've learned a lot of lessons from them. A lot of the kinks and any type of the metering configurations and such have all been worked out. All the privacy standards started with them. Believe it or not, Massachusetts has different privacy standards. So we've done all of that. This meter, there are AMI meters all over the country. So smart meters are all over the country. And the Northeast is really the last area of the country to get these meters. That being said, every year there's new technologies, just like if you buy a new TV or you get a new cell phone or you get a new refrigerator, they're all upgraded with newer technologies. This technology is such that it's next generation is what we're calling it. So it not only will it give us the capabilities we have now, but we have the ability to build in some future capabilities of the meter. So as the years go on, as we get all the meters installed, there'll be things that we'll be able to do as a company and offer to customers that we wouldn't be able to with just a 1.0 smart meter, as we call it. So we're calling this the 2.0 version. So a lot of that more to come. But like I said, having gone after, sometimes going second is better, but having going after our New York company, we've learned a lot of lessons and been able to incorporate them into our deployment here in Massachusetts.
Thank you. I just don't want to interfere with your presentation, but
no,
maybe
we have two FAQs
maybe,
left, and then I think we can open it up to questions if there are more.
Yeah, just maybe next time you can say, we've learned a lot from other people.
Okay, I will make a note of that. Okay, so next slide, there's 2 more questions I think Mark is going to address.
Okay, can I opt out if I already own solar panels? Will billing calculations and credits be impacted? So the answer to that is depending upon your current meter setup, and that meter setup is largely dependent upon what distributed generation program that you may have enrolled with in National Grid. It's either a single net meter or dual meter setup that came with a different program enrollment that's been more recent. National Grid will replace one or both meters with a conventionally manually read meter. Opt-out has, as noted above, and will apply if a customer opts out of AMI, they will still have a net meter, which again is bidirectional. It's so that it measures both consumption and generation and provides the credit through a single meter. And so no impacts to solar credits or eligibility. Next question, when my new meter is installed, will my solar panels shut off? And again, we're going to give you some general guidance on this, but most inverters that are associated with a rooftop solar system require power from the utility in order to operate. The inverters then convert direct current from the solar panels into alternating current. When those inverters in general lose their utility power, they will turn off by themselves. Some customers, in our experience, it's not a lot of customers, may have battery backup to allow those inverters to keep functioning. But unless you have one, yes, the inverters will shut off, therefore your solar panels will shut off from generating. Depending upon the configuration of it, if there is a breaker that is required to be isolated and opened at the breaker level in order for National Grid to satisfactorily perform voltage testing at the socket, that breaker will have to be opened to allow the socket safety testing to successfully pass. At that point, the new meter could be installed, and generally it is the homeowner's responsibility to turn that breaker to the on position after the utility completes its work. The classic expression is your results may vary. There's a lot of different ways that solar systems have been installed over the years, and so this may not cover every single instance.
Thanks, Mark. The last slide that we have is, so the National Grid Smart Meter team, as well as our consumer advocate team, will be visiting the island on Monday, November 3rd. We'll be set up at the Family Resource Center in Freedom Square, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. So it gives you an opportunity to stop by if you have any questions for the Smart Meter team, any questions about your installation, how to get into my account, how do you view your data, questions you might have prior to your installation, anything we can answer. The consumer advocate team will also be there and helping customers understand their bills, set up payment plans, discount rates, arrears forgiveness, special protections, energy savings. Great group of folks that are helping our customers get through the winter months with the higher bills, and they've had great success talking with customers. So us partnering together has worked really well over the last 6 months or so, where they're able to have a customer who has a smart meter direct up to us to get some additional information. So invite you all to stop by. If you have any questions, I'm happy to see you in person.
Brooke.
And that's the end of our presentation, Erica. I don't know if you want to open it up to any additional questions or, and all this information I know will be included online.
Lisa, I have a quick question. For your sessions at FRC, will you have multilingual ability to speak to folks in multiple languages?
Yes, so we do have I know we have English and Spanish speaking, and then we do have the National Grid utilizes a translation line. So we're able to call into that and have the rep and the customer speak with that translator to get any services set up that they would need to.
That's terrific. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I want to note too, that's also true about our smart meter information. So on our webpage, in the corner of our webpage, you can choose which language you would like to have your information in. So everything is translatable on there. So we have that as well.
All right, thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Mark.
Next up, we have the Affordable Housing Trust quarterly update.
Thank you. Christine Barantella, Municipal Housing Director, and Dylan Mechimpel, the Deputy Housing Director. And we're here tonight to walk through the past quarter, July through September of 2025. And I'm going to let Dylan kick us off.
Hi, everyone. So just a quick overview, I'm going to take you through some staffing and advocacy effort updates and then talk about our community collaboration and engagement efforts. And then Christy is going to talk to housing production and land acquisition updates, the various programs and initiatives we have going on and our efforts to get word out to the community, and then things that we're looking ahead to on the horizon. Erica, if you wouldn't mind going to the next page. Thank you. So first, we welcomed Caroline Ferguson as the department's new administrative specialist. She started in September, and she's taking over a bunch of duties, including being the liaison to the Affordable Housing Trust. She's onboarding very quickly and going to really be able to expand our capacity in the office. Since July, we have had a number of advocacy efforts around the transfer fee. First, on July 29th, the Joint Committee on Municipalities and Regional Government heard testimony on the bill that would enable municipalities statewide to implement a transfer fee. And we had a remote panel and did a letter drive for people to submit letters in support of the bill. On September 9th, the Joint Committee on Revenue heard testimony on the Home Rule petition bill, which would give Nantucket specifically the power to implement the transfer fee. We had 12 people in total, including 5 in person, testify at that hearing. Nantucket Public Schools Superintendent Beth Hallett spoke. Police Chief Jody Casper testified. Housing Director Christy Farentella spoke. The Executive Director of Housing Nantucket, Ann Cuspa, testified, as well as Penny Dye, Mary Bergman, Land Bank Executive Director Rachel Freeman, Abby De Molina, Berta Scott, Vanessa Moore, Brooke Moore, and Forrest Bell all spoke. And we are continuing to do a letter drive in support of that bill as well. And then last week, the Joint Committee on Housing heard testimony on the Seasonal Communities Bill, which would allow communities who have accepted the seasonal communities designation to implement the transfer fee bill. And we had 11 people testify, many of the same, but also Megan Trudell, the Deputy Planning Director, spoke this time. And I want to give a special shout out to Berta Scott, who went in person, was the only person who was able to make that trip again in October. So we're consistently showing up and rebutting the opposition's arguments and garnering community support for the vital transfer fee. Also, at the end of August, staff met with Governor Maura Healey and her team when she visited the island in August, and we were able to talk a lot about the work that we have going on and to advocate in support, again, of the transfer fee and all of the initiatives that would be able to support. Next slide, please, Erica. So this quarter saw a lot of community engagement, a lot of outreach. Christy and Megan Trudell went and I joined them at the One Cape Conference put on by the Cape Cod Commission in September. They spoke about Nantucket's housing work, the progress and success that we've been making, and how zoning enables that. For folks who are interested in watching that, they can go to the Cape Cod Commission's website, and the recording is now available as of this week. In September, the Nantucket hosted the Seasonal Communities Advisory Council and the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities, EOHLC, Secretary Ed Augustus. Staff met with, Christy provided an update at the end of the meeting on all of the work that the Housing Department has been doing and Nantucket has been doing in support of affordable housing. And at the end, staff met with Ed Augustus and his staff and were able to continue that conversation. And at the end of September, we held a joint meeting with you all on the Select Board, the Planning Board, the Board of Health, and of course the Affordable Housing Trust. And the discussion focused on the permitting process, how to remove barriers, the importance of missing middle housing, and streamlining inter-board collaboration. And one more slide, Erica. And in August, the documentary Room for Us premiered. It was put together by Semester Cinema. And it really was a deep dive into the housing problems that Nantucket is facing. At the premiere, Christy spoke on a panel, including the directors of the film, including some of the students who worked on it, and other folks like Ann Cuspa, who are directly involved in it. We were able to get additional screenings scheduled at the Dreamland in September. And for anybody who is interested in watching it now, they can use this link to rent it. I believe it's $7 to rent, and the money goes back to the filmmakers so they can recoup costs. And with that, I will turn it over to Christy.
Thank you. So I wanted to take you through some of our active projects. Right now, we have 2 projects that have received funding and support from the trust. Habitat for Humanity is finishing up their project on Waite Drive. They're constructing 6 units. It was 4 single-family homes and a duplex. Families have started to move into those single-family homes, and all 6 units have been awarded through lottery. They were just in front of the Affordable Housing Trust at our meeting last week to report that they are on schedule and on budget with this project. So we're really excited to see this Habitat project come to fruition. As we heard in the county commissioners, Tacoma Green is moving forward. It was formerly 6 Fairgrounds Road. The access point is going to be off of Waite Drive. That cleared the U.S. Fish and Wildlife clearance in July, and everything has been moving very quickly since then towards a closing. They're in position to be able to pull their building permits, and when they do that, the town will be able to apply for an additional year of safe harbor. Next slide, please. So we're really excited to announce that the year-round deed restriction pilot program has launched. When I was here with the last quarterly update, we were teeing it off. So it launched on September 17th, and it was released through a request for proposals. This is the mandated procurement method to be able to receive all of the bids and applications, and then all will be due by November 14th at 2 p.m., and that is a hard deadline. After that, we'll be able to open the bids and have a review committee to look at all the homeowners or potential homeowners that submit bids, and we're hoping to award by December 15th. We have a website on the town page with information about the pilot program, as well as a FAQ that's on the procurement page. So a lot of questions have been submitted. There's, I think, 19 or 20 questions that were submitted. All of those have been answered, and we'll be releasing an addenda at the end of next week. So if you have any other questions, please make sure that you review that and get those in. For anyone who's not familiar with this, it allows homeowners to receive a cash payment in exchange for restricting their property for year-round occupancy, and income-qualified households earning up to 240% of AMI. So that's approximately $390,000 for a family of 4. The program can also support down payment assistance for eligible families. And just this initiative offers a creative and cost-effective way to preserve our existing year-round housing without new construction. Next slide, please. The Lease to Locals program has just kicked off into its 3rd year. This is being administered by Housing Nantucket with assistance through PlaceMate, Inc. The homeowners who are now entering into their 3rd year are eligible to receive a cash subsidy incentive of 25% of that initial payment. So these people have already been renewed the 1st year, the 2nd year, and now going into the 3rd year. So they have consistently supplied year-round housing. To date, they've been able to secure 37 properties that were underutilized and converted into year-round housing. One of the key things about this is it's a quick way to create year-round housing. And again, we're constantly looking at ways that we can use the housing that's already here rather than building new. So I think this has been one of our most successful tools. The Affordable Housing Trust released an RFP, a request for proposals, for an administrator for year 3. And we received 2 competitive proposals, which are currently under review. Next slide, please, Erica. Upcoming initiatives. Our housing production plan, which is state mandated by the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities, is ready to be updated. Their last one was approved in 2021. So we just awarded at your select board meeting on October 1st, you awarded the contract to Barrett Planning. That's who did our last housing production plan and is also doing the master plan for the planning department. So we're really excited to engage with Judy, and she'll have a ton of stakeholder engagement planned for the fall and winter, with the update to be released in April. This is a key tool that allows us to not only stay in safe harbor and apply for that, but also allows us to apply for grants and programs through the state that are only eligible to communities that have a approved housing production plan. We're also looking at rental preservation programs. A lot of community members spoke out when we first started supporting the lease to locals of how do you also support existing year-round rentals. So we just, again, on October 1st, awarded a contract to Placemake Inc. to examine ways to incentivize year-round housing and conserve our existing stock. They've done this in other resort towns and also looked into this in Provincetown to see if a program that provides a cash incentive to people who are already renting could encourage them to continue renting or prevent rent increases or prevent a sale because it's becoming too hard to rent affordably to their tenants. So we're really looking forward. Our kickoff to that is tomorrow, and we're looking forward to seeing them get engaged with the community. The last thing is we currently have a group of students from WPI examining housing potential through adaptive reuse of second-story space in the historic downtown. They just arrived on island this past weekend after spending the past 8 weeks researching the local housing market. They have attended the Affordable Housing Trust meeting this past Tuesday to introduce themselves and give a little information about what they'll be up to. But on site, they're going to be engaging a lot of stakeholders in the historic downtown. So we hope that business owners and others will engage with the students as they wrap up their project this fall. All these initiatives demonstrate our commitment to innovation and community-driven solutions for housing on Nantucket. Next slide, please. And we're happy to answer any questions.
Any questions or comments?
I say this every time you guys come. It's a remarkable and complex set of things that you're working on. And I love that we're able now to explore and implement some creative solutions whilst we remain in safe harbor and continue to focus on that, but really expanding our reach in the housing area beyond just 40B.
One thing I was thinking about earlier now that I believe that we ended up hiring a lobbyist when we got the covenant through. My brain goes back a long time, but there was someone who made connections with a bunch of other communities that we wouldn't have expected that helped us get that through way back when. And I think Penny, I would ask you to talk. Penny probably remembers better than me, but I would say think about that if it need be. Thanks.
Anybody else? Malcolm? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next up, we have real estate items. Tacoma Green, request for approval and execution of temporary license agreement to grant licensee non-exclusive right to access and occupy a portion of town-owned property shown as Lot 917 on Assessor Map 67 and known as 4-Way Drive to place 2 building sheds.
Thank you. Tracy McDonald, Real Estate Manager. Erica, would you mind bringing up the plan? So in conjunction with the upcoming Tacoma Green project.
Mike, I am.
Sorry. Vicki? I'm presenting the request to approve and execute a license agreement between the Town of Nantucket and HK Tacoma LLC for the use and access of a portion of town-owned land located at 4-Way Drive and identified as map 67 lots 917 for the purpose of placement, maintenance, and removal of 2 8x10 sheds, which are shown, the tiny squares shown on the plan here, and provided in, well, I said and provided in your packet, but it's up on the screen now. I have Town Council Vicki Marsh online, as well as Council for Hal Keen, Kate McGarr. If you have more specific questions, my understanding is this is a license until the ground lease is signed between the parties.
Can I move? I'll move approval.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor by roll call? Matt Fay?
Aye.
Brooke Moore?
Aye.
Tom Dixon?
Aye.
Malcolm McNabb? Oh, Malcolm, you're muted. But he said aye. Don Hill, aye.
Thank you.
Carries
you.
unanimously. Thank you.
Right.
Town managers report.
We are furthering our monthly departmental updates tonight, and we are up to the Plus department. And we have a very interesting presentation.
I hope it's as interesting as Libby just made it out to be. I'm Leslie Snell. I'm the Director of Planning and Land Use Services. And thank you all for having us tonight. Next slide. Just to remind you of our department organizational structure, we have 3 divisions: the Land Use and Regulatory Division, a regional focus, safety and code compliance. We have 21 full-time employees, a part-time employee, and several per diem positions that are inspectors. Right now, we have a vacant senior planner position that we are kind of maybe thinking about redoing a little bit, and a vacant administrative specialist position. And I just want to thank everyone in the office. There's a picture of our 2025 plus staff for all of the hard work that they do for the town of Nantucket. Tonight, I do have a few of those staff people with me to speak. I have Megan Trudell, the Deputy Director of Planning, Paul Murphy, the Building Commissioner, Lauren Sinatra, the Energy Coordinator, and Holly Backus, the Preservation Planner. So at Plus, we strive to be a plus, not a minus, for the town. We strive to provide excellent customer service, friendly, helpful staff, a professional office setting. Back in 2019, the Select Board had an operational review done of our office. One thing that they recommended was some changes to the interior of the office. We've done some of those things recently. It's really, I think, improved the professional setting of the office, and we've been getting a lot of positive feedback from that. We promote professional development. About half of our staff requires ongoing credentialing, so that takes up a lot of time. We encourage staff people who do not require ongoing educational, continuing education, to go to things like Citizen Planner Training Collaborative and things offered by our HR or other initiatives that they find on their own. Community service, as you can see in the picture, we have 2 staff people that participated in a Town of Nantucket litter project. And there are other things that are offered through HR. There are community things that we do together as a team that are really fun. And then improving coordination with other departments. We have started posting public hearing notices and application materials for all the departments to be able to review in advance of public hearings, so we can get their comments in advance. We have coordinated reviews for construction projects with multiple departments, and we continue to coordinate a group that work together to address some challenging properties. So with that, I will turn it over to Megan Trudell, the Deputy Director.
Hi. So I'll go over some key initiatives and then some accomplishments in the Land Use and Regulatory Division. So some of the key initiatives are the master plan update, which is currently in progress. We also participate in the advancement of legislation and regulations specifically related to zoning, and we've been focused in the past couple of years on how to generate year-round housing. We are always developing warrant articles for future town meetings. We always have a running list of concepts on how to implement that moving forward. And then there's oversight of historic surveys, which Holly will go into a little more detail in a few minutes. Next slide. So some of the key accomplishments with the zoning updates at the 2025 annual town meeting is the continued RC2 phase out. Just in 2005, we had nearly 1,400 acres of RC2, and we're down to the last 52 acres of that zoning district. So we're reaching the home stretch of that phase out. There were some housing initiatives that moved forward at ATM last year. So that included defining new terms, attainable housing and year-round housing. Those terms align with seasonal communities definitions and also programs that are implemented by the Affordable Housing Trust. We finally, with the help and partnership of Housing Nantucket, implemented an inclusionary housing bylaw. And then other amendments to address statutory changes such as the solar energy updates. So thank you all to the select board too for always being supportive of the planning board to advance some of those initiatives. There's also been significant progress on the 2009 master plan update. First of all, with a very robust public outreach campaign, it kicked off with Strong Towns presentation in February, followed by programs such as Kitchen Conversations, a community-wide survey, an interactive 6-word story at the Athenaeum, a 2-part visioning workshop, engagement with the middle school civics class, engagement on the ferries, and then a tabling event at Cape Cod 5. So there will be more public engagement to come and community outreach as we move through the next phase, which would be goals and policies. So the board has adopted the vision statement and we just received today the inventory and assessment for their review. So next steps will be goals and policies.
Megan, do you know when, for the public, do you know when they can expect this to be completed? Do you have a schedule and have a good idea?
We do have a schedule. It is somewhat of a moving target as we incorporate additional public engagement. Currently, I believe the contract is set to expire the end of November.
Sloppy? Oils?
I would expect.
I don't
that-
think Malcolm is talking about you.
I would expect that, that may extend several months beyond that, just depending on how we facilitate the public engagement, particularly for the goals and policies, but we are reaching the home stretch of this process.
Right, good, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. And with that, I will hand it over. Next slide, sorry. This is some photos from our visioning workshop, and it just, was very well received, well attended. It was an interactive process where we had consultants come and various members of the community and kind of voice their thoughts on the community's strengths and weaknesses and what they'd like to see as a part of this process moving forward. And now with that, I will hand it over to Holly Backus, Preservation Planner.
Good evening, board members. Thanks for having us this evening. So under the Architectural Review and Historic Preservation section of our land use, as you all are aware, the HDC and the Historical Commission are part of the Certified Local Government Program under the Federal Historic Preservation Program since March of 2021. We've been able to apply for federal funding. With that, the 2 sections, we are required to have a report. Within this past report, the HDC was very busy. 2,110 COAs were reviewed. And then the Historical Commission was able to review a couple of historic tax credits, some continuations from the previous years, and then review 137 historic survey forms. These forms were part of our federal funding that we received from MHC as a CLG. And then this is just a photograph of myself teaching our Preservation Institute in Nantucket in the University of Florida's program. Every year I get the opportunity to introduce them to Nantucket and the historic district. Next slide. So with our continuing our survey effort, we had PAL, who actually created our survey plan, be able to finish the fish lots as well as go into the Brant Point neighborhood. With that, there was 98 fish lot HDC surveys, if you will, and 39 within the Brant Point neighborhood. Our last fiscal grant, fiscal 23, we have been able to extend that. Thank you all for doing that. And then MHC is looking forward us to hopefully get a responsive consultant. We haven't been able to do that. So hopefully we'll be able to do that. We have also applied for CPC applications projects. One is working with the Preservation Institute in Nantucket on surveying the West Monomoy, New Guinea, Newtown, Five Corners area. A lot of people say, where is that? In this past year, they were able to do a recon survey, and then this next fiscal year, if CPC allows us, we'll be able to create 250 HDC surveys, or Form Bs, as MHC calls them. And then within the fiscal year, hopefully the next coming fiscal year with CPC applications, we are asking to update the all-important building with Nantucket in mind, as well as scan some of our historic aerials that we have over at Plus. Next slide. So I just want to take you briefly onto the GIS website that we have on the town. If you click on to base themes and go to MHC historic inventory, all these little triangles are going to pop up. Every single triangle that you see has an HDC survey or a Form B or even some Form As scattered throughout the island. The intent is to survey everything under that survey plan, which is about a 10-year project that will, we can't do without that public and private partnership. But essentially, any of those older 1988, 89 surveys that were done will be updated, and you'll find them on this website. If you go to the next page, Erica. Thanks. This is what you'll see. You click on where it's underlined, the Massachusetts Cultural Resource System, MACRIS. Click on that. It's going to take you to this page, and then you see right in the corner there, there's a PDF, and that's how you get that HDC survey. So this is something that you can find on the town's website, obviously through the GIS, but there's a whole description underneath our preservation planning page. So that's it. Thank you.
All right, next we have our Regional Focus Division. It really has 3 sections: the Nantucket Planning and Economic Development Commission, Transportation, and then Energy. I just want to touch on the NPDC a little bit. We've really been focusing on trying to collaborate more with other regional planning agencies. We are one of 13 recognized in the state. That's a picture of Megan Trudell and I with Laura Silber from the Martha's Vineyard Commission at the One Cape Conference. We've been working with the Vineyard Commission quite a bit lately. Christy Ferrantella has been working with them as well. And it's really great to have another commission that has similar needs and similar issues that we have, so that we can come up with some solutions that work for everyone. The commission established goals and initiatives this year for the first time in quite some time to guide their work throughout the year. We completed a build-out analysis that was done by Weston and Sampson. It built on the analysis that was done for the sewer needs area. This focused on the unsewered areas of the island. We approved local area plans for town and Monomoy. And we achieved a 3-year extension for the local open space and recreation plan. Initiatives to, again, continue collaboration with other agencies. We've been participating in the Seasonal Communities Council, which Megan mentioned earlier. There are other local area plans that need to be updated, particularly Surfside and Brant Point. They've asked to be on the agenda as soon as possible. And then we're working on our enabling legislation update, which has been going on for quite some time. And I'll talk a little bit more about that on your next agenda item. Next slide. Regional focus. Normally, Mike Burns, the Transportation Program Manager, would be here, but he gave you a pretty lengthy presentation last week, along with the DPW Director, talking about projects that they've been working on throughout the year. So I would touch on, on the regional side of things, he's really been working on bike safety, bike path and pedestrian improvements, and intersection improvements where streets and bike paths come together. This year, we did the Brain Bucket Nantucket stickers again to help identify class 1, 2, and 3 e-bikes. And Mike's been putting together some videos, and we thought that we would play one for you tonight. And then I'll turn it over to Lauren.
Okay, give me 1 second, because we were having some.
While you're doing it, I'm going to comment how I think stop signs for the driveways out to the road and caution signs to the bike path is great if we can do that, because that makes it very clear who's supposed to stop.
Great, and that's something that BPAC has spent a lot of time discussing.
Leslie, so we couldn't get the video to work as it was embedded in the file. So if you don't mind, at the end of your presentation, I have it as a separate thing.
Oh, perfect.
That I'll run at the end.
That may work better anyway. Okay, so I'll turn it over to Lauren Sinatra.
Thank you, Leslie. Good evening to the board. I'm Lauren Sinatra, and just to reintroduce myself as Energy Coordinator, I oversee key energy programs that help the town and the broader community save energy and costs while advancing sustainability. This includes managing energy supply contracts, securing grants and incentives, supporting local renewable energy development, and engaging residents and businesses in energy efficiency and electrification initiatives. I oversee Nantucket's participation in the Massachusetts Green Communities Designation and Grant Program, handling designation obligations, annual reporting, and competitive grant applications. This past February, I'm proud to say Nantucket celebrated 5 years as a green community, having secured more than $700,000 in state grants for municipal energy efficiency upgrades and clean transportation projects. Highlighted on this slide are the low-speed electric vehicle, the GEM purchased by Plus. We also upgraded all of Plus's HVAC last year to air source heat pumps, which we've already seen savings and increased comfort from that grant. And just today, I submitted the town's 2025 Green Communities Grant for over $240,000, which would fund building envelope improvements and new heat pumps, which would replace old oil fire furnaces, with cutting emissions and lowering operating costs. I also manage Nantucket Power Choice, the town's municipal electricity program, which serves over 12,000 residents and businesses. Our current rate offers savings of about 10% with the supply charges when compared to National Grid's basic service rates. And to date, we're proud to say that $34 million have been saved through our program for local ratepayers when compared to National Grid. And the program has also provided over $38,000 to Nantucket Public Schools through the sale of renewable energy certificates generated by the wind turbine. And more details on that program can be found at nantucketpower.org. Related to the Power Choice program, which funds our solar rebate program, I oversee local solar rebates, which have helped local residents go solar since 2018. To date, we've awarded over $691,000 in rebates, supporting 148 solar projects and adding 1.3 megawatts of clean energy to our local power grid. We currently offer solar rebates up to $6,000 and plan to offer a battery bonus next year, which are critically important as we will be seeing the decline or actually elimination of federal tax credits for residential battery and solar projects. Next slide, Erica. Just very quickly, a few other projects I'm managing include an energy efficient window replacement project at our island home, a municipal light reduction plan and exterior upgrade project, which has me working along with the DPW and Nantucket Lights to identify and replace outdated high glare fixtures with bylaw compliant dark sky friendly lighting, which is also supported by a $75,000 Remain Nantucket grant. I'm looking at municipal solar projects, which are also grant funded at the water company, the Nobodere playing field, and the sewer department, which we anticipate going online in 2026. These would be smaller roof-mounted projects. And ongoing collaboration with National Grid and Mass Save to promote community energy efficiency. Just to highlight a few opportunities coming up, from November 3rd to 7th, there will be no-cost home energy assessments, a free refrigerator pickup and dehumidifier recycling event on November 8th, and no-cost business energy assessments from November 10th to 14th. To learn more about these programs or to sign up, visit ngrid.com/Nantucket, and you can find my information there too in case there's any questions. Thank you so much.
Good evening, members of the board. I'm Paul Murphy. I'm the building commissioner. And tonight I'm going to talk a little bit about safety, code compliance in the building division. On the first slide, I think the stopwatch with the flames behind it says it all. In 2024, it was revealed that the permitting wasn't going out as timely as I would have liked. So the staff and I evaluated the reasons why, and we came up with a process to kind of triage the permits and sort them out into permits that need zoning review, permits that don't need zoning review, interior alterations, roofing, siding, and so we separated all those out and figured out what could be issued quickly, what needed further review, and it's resulted in FY 2025 in about a 20% reduction in turnaround time, and that's a big improvement in efficiency and service delivery. So I'm very happy that we did that. Next slide, Erica. Thanks. The next thing I'd like to talk about is zoning enforcement. You may already know, but in 2024, we hired a building inspector who is focused on zoning enforcement throughout the town. The current focus is storage containers. They've proliferated on the island like exponentially, and a lot of places they're not allowed. A lot of places they're allowed by special permit. And it's become, a big problem and the subject of complaints. And so Chris Perez, the new hire in 2024, has been actively notifying property owners that they either need to remove them or properly apply for their permits. And it's pretty successful. They're regularly before the planning board to properly permit these things. The other focus is special permits that are commercial related and the conditions that are associated with those. So Chris actively looks at commercial properties that were the subject of a special permit, and he's been monitoring those properties for code compliance. Another question is, how is zoning enforcement initiated? In any number of ways, but typically it's a phone call to my office, an email is fine, a letter, or you can come in person. You can fill out a form or not fill out a form. It doesn't matter to me. So it's very easy to do. And the only thing I don't really like is anonymous complaints because I don't really have anyone to get back to. So those are kind of tricky.
I have a quick question, back to storage containers, because I put a storage container at my house for like a month when we refinished a bunch of floors a few years ago. So if someone needs to do something like that, puts it in their driveway, they come and talk to you and just fill in a form.
Sure, yeah. We haven't had many problems with those, and there's an understanding in my office that there's temporary needs for that stuff, and as long as there's an agreement, that's, we don't have any problem with that. No enforcement's initiated.
But if I'm gonna put it out there and sleep in it, then you might come after me.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. That'll be an enforcement problem.
That'll keep me in the house.
Yeah,
Sheila will not be happy, but that's
exactly. And the next slide, please. So the stretch energy code was updated in 2025, making requirements more lenient for existing buildings. In other words, not new homes, tiny homes and ADUs, and it's resulted in, obviously assisting these people that is subject to these requirements with obtaining easier scores to comply with the stretch goal requirements that the town adopted. And we've had some challenges with that stuff. The infill development in the historic district, so the HDC has a job to do. They routinely require single pane windows, and when those are required, you cannot get a passing rating. So the challenge there is sending these applicants to the Building Code Board of Appeals, or getting the HDC to rethink the window approvals. But the Building Code Board of Appeals has been pretty receptive because they've had repetitive applications come to the board, and they've granted all the variances. They understand the situation. And I'm also told that some window manufacturers are also coming up with simulated divided lights with the Nantucket profile that the HTC is warming up to. And so hopefully that situation will evaporate. We'll be able to get some passing scores. As far as department advocacy, Lauren and Holly have been really helpful in reaching out to DOER, who oversees the stretch energy code, and letting them know the problems we're having on Nantucket. And, they're pretty receptive to working with us on that stuff. So
can I go back to the windows?
Sure.
If someone has single pane glass and then puts an storm window on the outside, can they still not, is it still not enough?
Yeah, that's an interesting point. No, it doesn't, the stretch code doesn't recognize a storm window.
I got you.
So it's, you know, it's just doesn't change the game on the score.
On the score, because
Yeah.
I know we've done it in a couple historic renovations, and it did get the blower door tests and things to the right levels back. This is 10 years ago, so they're
Sure.
probably tighter now, but they don't recognize them. They
No,
think they
no,
might come off or
no,
something.
they're not recognized, no.
All right.
And lastly, I just wanted to give an update on building permits. So the total building permit revenue was about 1.5 million in FY 2025. Total building permits for FY 2024 was just over 1,000, and for FY 2025 was just under 1,000, so it was really close. So, thank you.
All right, so Team Plus, next slide. I mean, some of us are here tonight, but most of the staff was not. And you saw a quick photo at the beginning, but I thought it would be fun for you to see, you know, people around the office and going to our visioning sessions and just, you know, not posing for a photo. So that's our team, and they're really great. And now let's watch Mike's video.
This is Mike, and today we are going to see if Mike knows how to be safe while riding his e-bike on island. Oh, no. Bad start, Mike. Try that again. Much better. Look at you with your proper e-bike classification sticker. That's right, Mike. Safety first. Make sure that helmet is snug and your bell works. Oh, he was doing so well. Don't be that guy, Mike. Walk your bike on the sidewalks downtown. Great, he is now riding on the street like he should be. Oh wow, look at you go with those hand signals. Okay, now you're just showing off. Let's see if Mike can be a safe bike rider on the road to the paths. Way to go. Now the final test. How will he do passing others with a friend? He did it. Be more like Mike while riding your bike.
All right, well, thank you all, and I want to thank the communications office for working with us on that video and other things that we've done.
I loved that
with them.
video.
They're really
I do
great.
too. I have one quick question. In
Yep.
page 47, you had, that was another page. You said the build-out analysis was done?
Yes.
Can you share that? Can you send that to
We
me?
have it on the NPDC website, but I'll send Libby a link that she
All right.
can share with you all.
Awesome, thank you.
Anything else? No? Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Oh, go
Madam
ahead.
Chair, I just have one quick comment. I don't have to tell Megan, but she serves on the advisory council for the seasonal communities designation. And thank you for serving on that, because I think it's kind of more applicable to the previous housing department, but that's really, really important. So thank you for working on the regulations that are coming and all that, and providing feedback.
I'll just say, and I've probably said this before, that years ago, I used to walk into that office scared. And now I walk in and everybody is so welcoming and pleasant and helpful. And the customer service level is amazing. So it's been a sea change in my years on Nantucket, and I think it's improving all the time. So thank you.
Thank you all for coming in person.
Okay, next, and thank you guys very much. That was a great presentation. Okay, the finance director is going to take us through an overview of the fiscal '27 general fund budget status. And again, this is just an overview. We gave you a preview about a month ago, and we are now working on reviewing all of the departmental budgets, their expense increase requests, revenue projections, things like that. And we just wanted to give you sort of an interim update, high level, of where we are with everything. And remember, it's not definite. We like to share what we've gotten from our departments, which is a big number, but they're just requests. They're not going to end up all being recommended, of course, because we would not be able to afford that. And we're in the process of prioritizing and matching things up with what is needed for the town to properly operate and or meet programmatic goals, initiatives, and other board strategic plan matters. Brian?
Thank you, Libby. So next slide, Erica, please. So as the town manager mentioned, we are starting with revenue. We have not made a lot of changes to the levy limit because we're still working through 26, which will be before you in December for the tax rate hearing and some of where we think the levy limit for 27 will end up. We're currently getting ready to submit a majority of the paperwork and information to the state. So new growth is still a little bit of an unknown for 26, so we're keeping it at the same number that we had recommended. There was a small down change in terms of reduction in the debt exclusions for 27, but other than that, there's no real changes to the levy limit, pending some additional information and certification from the state on new growth and valuations. Next slide, please. As the town manager mentioned, the first quarter is behind us and we're actively scrubbing and reviewing the revenue. As everybody knows, rooms tax came in fairly substantially better than last year. So we're looking at that and trying to analyze what will happen for the remainder of this year as well. Investment income, we still think the number for 26 will hold, which may allow us to increase that a little bit, but it is still somewhat dependent on what the Fed does in the next 3 months, at least 2 more rate meetings. So that could make some changes specifically to the investment income, which is something that's performed very well for us the last few years. Next slide, please, Erica. So all told, just a kind of a minor change in the total projection, but we're projecting from all sources, with real and personal property being the largest source, that we'll be able to raise $168.1 million to allocate for funding operations of the town and other articles. Next slide, please, Erica. Thank you. So I think this is kind of where I follow on to what the town manager said and said, you know, what we're going to see here is all in, everything that everybody's asked for is the starting point. There's a process we go through, but I think we felt it was important for everybody to understand kind of where we are starting from as we get ready and move towards the October or the December presentation for the budget recommendation. So all told, town departments asked for an additional $1.6 million worth of personnel. It's about 16 new positions that were requested. The school has no new positions, but about a $1.4 million rollover for salaries in their operating budget for next year. They did ask for an additional $150,000 for the community school, pushing salaries for town and school operations to $71.8 million in the asks, and which we're working through. Operating expenses, there's $2,021,000 of expense increase requests. The majority of these are categorized as one-time expenses. There's about $600,000 worth of recurring expenses that were requested. The school has about a little over $1 million that they are going to be discussing and presenting to us when we sit down with them. A lot of the increase on the school side of that $1 million is really driven by special education placements. Off-island placements or out-of-state placements are very expensive, and they're continuing to see an increase in the special education out-of-district placements. We have highlighted health insurance because it's one of those real areas that is going to start coming into a little bit more clarity now, because we have a couple months or 3 months of data in terms of what claims in fiscal 26 have been, so we can start to project fiscal 27. The very early claims, a lot of times in July and August, are what we call run-out claims. They're claims that were filed prior and or being paid out in July and August. So we have to go through that data, but this is when we get to see a little bit more clarity, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to bring that number down a little bit from the almost 12% that we're projecting right now. Principal and interest, we highlighted at 16.1 million. I don't anticipate that we're going to be issuing any permanent debt between now and June 30th, or I hope we're not. So I don't envision that that number is going to change from that, given that it's based on a currently issued amortization schedule. We did highlight the Health and Human Services, 650,000 they have sent. They did request a review of the funding for future years, but have said that they would be requesting and would appreciate the same allocation for this year. And from the tax rate, and there also will be an opportunity to potentially allocate money for opioid and potentially use some of the local option marijuana money from the Special Purpose Stabilization Fund. We're going through that, and we'll be making a recommendation on what we think they could use out of that to them for their planning purposes. No change in any of the other allocations to the enterprise funds. Most of this has stayed relatively the same in this projection. All told.
Do we need to update the slide?
Oh, I'm sorry. I completely forgot. My apologies. No, yeah, you're right there. It's perfect. All told, projected $175.3 million worth of expenses. Again, this is everybody asking for what they think they need to be able to operate their departments. We have a long, arduous process that we go through in scrubbing those. I did include an additional $1.3 million estimate in free cash into the total revenue number because, as the board's aware, our free cash policy does stipulate that that would be used for one-time expenses only. So if we attempted to fund everything, and as the town manager has noted, we cannot, we would be faced right now with a $5.8 million deficit that will, and I caution everybody, this is, we're 2 months from the presentation to the board. So I think we felt it was kind of good to be able to let everybody know where we're starting from, so everybody has a clear understanding of the work that's ahead. But we will be able to get to a balanced budget for that presentation. I am very confident of that. So this is where I will step off for a moment and let the town manager kind of take you through the to be determines, unless you want me to do it, Libby. Okay.
These aren't too much different from what we've already reviewed with you, slight modifications. So the select board's priorities, you had a strategic planning retreat yesterday, and we'll be working on updating your plan, and that might result in some new or revised priorities. Town admin's priorities will include, and we're working on what budgetary items to put forward to progress these things. Facilities and property management, workforce retention and succession strategies, infrastructure and capital, and stormwater. And none of these are really very new. We've been working on them, and we need to continue working on them. Competing capital priorities, of course, is an ongoing issue. Continued review of collective bargaining and non-union compensation. We are about to start collective bargaining for contracts that expire June 30th, 2026. And we are working on a refresh of our comp and class schedule for the non-union staff. As you know, we have a special town meeting on November 4th, and depending on what happens there, could be a impact on revenue, which could impact the budget. Citizen warrant articles, we typically do not fund those. We, of course, don't know what they're going to be yet and whether they're going to involve any funding requirements, but depending on what happens there could be an article possibly approved that won't have funding associated with it. Most of those types of articles are non-binding in any event. However, sometimes the board decides to progress them. School priorities are in the works. We don't know exactly what those are yet, but we expect some. Free cash, I think the finance director mentioned that is hoped to be submitted for certification to the Department of Revenue at the end of the month. Local receipts are not quite in yet, did you say?
We're reviewing them. The first quarter is closed, so
Okay.
we're building a baseline for this budget.
And I think you mentioned about health insurance, local aid, of course, from the state. We don't totally know yet, but we don't expect any change there. Hopefully, there won't be any impact to our payment through the cherry sheet to the NRTA. And I don't know if there are specific service changes being proposed. I don't think there are, but hopefully the free fares will continue forever. PFAS, we, of course, have lots of irons in the fire on that and don't know exactly how much things might cost or what might come up that will necessitate a response. And potential fee adjustments, we are working on a presentation.
We are, and we plan
That
to be back
is-
before you, that I've been told to be ready for the 12th of November for a discussion on some fees and recommendations that could be implemented.
They won't impact revenue significantly or substantially, but they will get at the recommendation will be to routinely increase the ones that can be increased statutorily by the cost of living.
Correct.
And I think that's it. So we're happy to answer any questions, but really we just wanted to give you an overview of where we are.
That's it. Yeah, there's appendixes that the board can go through and read if they would, and certainly available to answer any questions, excuse me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brian. The next item is continued review of potential town-sponsored warrant articles for the 2026 annual town meeting. So there's an updated outline in your packet, and the only items I wanted to reference are in bold. And some of them are new, and some of them are just little bits of updates. So I think the first one is zoning. We have a list of potential zoning articles from planning. It's shown here on the screen, and I think Leslie's going to take us through those.
Okay, so our 2026 ATM concept list, we have gone over these with the planning board. I'm not sure that all of them will move forward. Excuse me. But here's kind of where we are. Map changes, these are RC2, RC phase out. Again, this continues the 2009 master plan implementation. Most of these are just single parcels. We've been working with the property owners already to try to reach some agreement on these. Some we've been working on for quite some time, and there are various issues related. So I'm hoping that we can knock most of these off the list this year. R5 to R10 Nopska Way. That is a change that came up at a recent planning board hearing after hearing from neighborhood residents. They are more interested in keeping the neighborhood at the density that it is, which is more consistent with R10 than R5, which is what it's in right now. So we're going to float that idea with other neighbors and see how that goes. Bylaw changes. We all know that we have a short-term rental discussion happening on November 4th. So depending on what happens with that or doesn't happen with that, we may need to do something at the annual. I'm hoping that comes off the list. Accessory dwelling units. This is ongoing from the state legislation that was passed. We actually had an internal meeting with the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities and the Attorney General's office today to run some ideas by them. And so we will be having some articles come out of that. We are going to be having a forum with them. I haven't nailed it down yet entirely, but I think it's going to be on November 20th. So we will get the word out for the public on that when the details are nailed down. Tertiary dwelling, you may remember that town meeting voted a moratorium on tertiary dwellings last year because of the accessory dwelling units that were added by the state. So we need to deal with that in some way at the upcoming annual. MGL Chapter 41, Section 81L, that's a statutory provision that allows lots to be divided into non-conforming lots if the structures thereon existed prior to the local adoption of the subdivision control law. This started off as a citizen petition. It did not pass a town meeting. There was quite a bit of opposition with the planning board about that. The planning board agreed to work with the petitioner, which they did last year. It did not pass at town meeting. We have some language tweaks that we're going to make, and we're going to try to advance that again this year. Coastal resilience. There was a meeting today with the coastal resiliency coordinator and some state officials, some local officials to talk about just some really highly technical changes that need to be made to the zoning bylaw to address some changes that FEMA is making that will address insurance and other things for property owners on Nantucket. So we need to be proactive with that.
And if we don't make the changes, people might not be able to get insurance.
Yeah.
So this is like a have to do.
And it's important. Yeah. Technical changes. Last year, there was a change, I think it was a citizen petition, but I can't remember, to allow certain notifications to be done electronically through different means of advertising. That did not apply to this section of the zoning bylaw, chapter 139, section 26, which deals with the demolition delay bylaw. That's a local bylaw provision. It's not statutory, so we don't have to follow the statutory requirements for advertisements. So we would like to include electronic publications in that section of the bylaw. Site plan review, there's just a few technical changes to make there. And then for non-zoning, chapter 124, which is in the general bylaw, it addresses some HDC-related matters. I believe it's called signs, satellite dishes, and roof lines. So you would never actually know that there's HDC stuff buried in there. Holly Backus, the preservation planner, is working on an update to that section. It's something that the HDC last year said they wanted to advance. They submitted sort of a sense of the meeting type article. So anyway, we're trying to move that along. Master plan acceptance, if the master plan is ready, having town meeting accept the plan is not required by state law. Only the planning board has to do it. In 2009, when the master plan was adopted, the planning board voluntarily put it on the warrant. I don't know that it's going to be ready, but if it is, that's something that the planning board will need to talk about quickly. And then NPNEDC enabling legislation, that's something that the NPNEDC has been working on for several years. In November, they finalized a draft of their legislation. They voted not to move it forward until a citizen petition that was voted by town meeting made its way through the process. That has been through the legislature. It was sent to study by committee. The Planning Commission would like to now move their version forward. We are starting some public outreach on that. We're doing some outreach videos to inform the public of what the commission is planning to do. We're planning a public forum in early November. There may be early December. There may be others. And we would like to get your commitment tonight that the select board will put the home rule petition on behalf of the NPDDC on the warrant.
I guess I have a question. Is the citizen petition still going to be resubmitted? And have we had public hearings on both of those in front of the commission? I would love to see them melded. They're so close that it seems absolutely crazy to me that we can't get one article, they are that close. So I would love to see that happen during this public hearing process, if that's possible.
Maybe that will be possible, but we'll have to talk about that. I mean, the commission did meet with the petitioner. There was a subgroup that met. You came to some of the meetings, I remember, and they tried to reach a consensus that didn't work. The citizen petition moved forward again through the legislature as Senate Bill 21, and the Committee on Municipalities and Regional Government, I think is what it's called, has sent the bill to study, so it's not really active right now. And the commission would really like to advance their version, however that is finalized between now and the warrant.
Did commission members ask to have it not advanced? Did they advocate against it in Boston?
They have repeatedly opposed the bill because they wanted to work on their own version.
That's my point, is I think that they've dug in their position. So I would hope that anyway, I think it's that close, and I hope
Is
that
the
we don't have to.
citizen not now a commissioner as well?
Yes.
Exactly.
Okay, so. Anybody else? Malcolm?
Yes, I'm not sure what we're asked here, but the citizens have voted for the other petition, so I can't vote for someone else besides what the commission has done. So I'd like Matt, let them get together.
Anybody
I
else on
I
this
was newly on the commission when this was being finalized, and I can say my sense is there were many, many public meetings where the citizen petitioner was present, and my sense is that a compromise is not happening, and I think that I voted for the the version that the NPDC has produced, and I would support moving it forward to town meeting.
Is that a motion?
Well, my understanding is that the petitioner is asking to have hers be a public hearing in front of the commission and is unable to get that to happen. And so that's why I would love to see that actually happen, have the public come and have the input from all sides, and then decide how we want to proceed. I think that deciding that we're going to proceed this way, while we've already as a town voted twice to proceed another way, have the public hearings, bring the public in and have the process. I think under further comment later, I was going to talk about on page 47 of the presentation, there were pictures of consensus building that we did for the master plan, which was really great. And I think that process is what I advocated for in the strategic plan yesterday. And so I think that this needs that sort of process. And I think unfortunately, it hasn't had that yet. So it's had two sides and it hasn't had that process. So, so I'm with Malcolm right now. I would like to see that process happen. And then if it doesn't, if we can't come to something, then I might vote to put it forward. But until that happens, I can't. Thank you.
I mean, we'll want to see what is drafted, but I think that it would be common practice to be willing to put something forward for the planning board.
Madam Chair, I agree. If the NPDC votes to ask us to put it on the warrant, I think I'd support it being on the warrant.
Thank you. And in November, that's what they talked about, was advancing it for the town meeting, again, after the citizen petitioned article had had its opportunity, and they didn't want to have dueling articles. And now I think they would like to have the opportunity extended for them to be able to bring forward their article for consideration at town meeting.
Do we need a motion on that?
I will make a motion that we support the NPDC version of the enabling legislation amendment.
Is there a second?
Second.
By roll call. Matt Fee?
No.
Brooke Moore?
Aye.
Tom Dixon?
Aye.
Malcolm McNabb?
No.
The chair votes aye.
Thank you all.
Carries 3-2.
Okay, so that was zoning. General bylaws, you had some discussion a little bit about e-bikes and e-scooters, and the police chief had some recommendations, and those are in progress to be followed up on. The noise bylaw proposed changes, I think you might have seen a little bit of email from me today on that. The proponents are actively seeking some input and inviting that to be presented to the board at your November 5th meeting. Was it there? The home rule petitions, I forgot to do something last week, which is the following. The Sewer Act Amendment, which is number 2, pending home rule petitions from prior annual town meetings, that's actually been enacted, so that can be removed anyway. And just as a reminder, these items here do not need to be resubmitted because they are in a current legislative session. The NP and EDC Enabling Act amendments, I have that on there, but as Leslie pointed out, that has gone to study committee, so it's not active right now. And I think there also may be a citizen petition coming on that in any event.
Yeah, Libby, I think Hillary has her name up, has her hand up, has had it up for a little bit. Probably about that, maybe answering the questions that I asked. Is that something we can entertain?
If it's about that, but we've already moved past.
I'm asking if we can entertain it.
Not on something we've already moved past.
All right.
under new home rule petitions, so e-bikes is under review. We know the planning commission is working on something, and the coastal resiliency districts, which were briefly discussed last week, the board wanted those added to a pending legislative update, and I have asked our legislators I gave them some dates, and I'm waiting for them to get back to me. Real estate related, we have several real estate office items that are currently under review. Tracy and I are finding some time to talk about those. They're, I would say, mostly housekeeping and/or initiatives that have been discussed in executive session, but aren't quite ready to proceed and may or may not be ready for town meeting. Housing has 2 articles currently. And I don't, so they were attached to last week's outline, but one had to do with the good landlord exemption, and the housing office has been tasked with doing a little more research on the rules on that and what the financial impact might be. Dylan is here, if maybe you would all entertain him to just briefly give an overview of is there just 2?
I was just going to speak to the good landlord.
Okay, and the other article was, what was it again?
Year-round.
Oh, yeah,
Year-round affordable housing trust.
that's right.
Sorry, year-round housing trust, not affordable. So if I may, through you, Madam Chair, so we're still doing research in terms of what the impact, the economic impact of the good landlord tax abatement would be. We're reaching out to Senator Sears' office and looking at other communities that have implemented it to get a sense. But I think that there were some questions around, what the eligibility thresholds were and how it could be implemented. So I have some insights on that. Basically, to qualify, there's 3 thresholds. The unit has to be rented at an affordable housing rate, which is determined by the city or the town, but based on the HUD levels. So for us, that would be at or below 150%. AMI above that would be considered attainable. It must be rented on a yearly basis. And then there must be an affordability restriction on the tenant. So their income cannot exceed 200% area median income. So that's set at the state. So they would have to income qualify and be at or below that. And then the actual rental rate would have to be at 150% AMI or below. And I believe there are some questions around whether or not employee housing could qualify for this. So my understanding is that as long as the employee housing met those guidelines, it could qualify for it. But just given the nature of employee housing, it probably would not, in most cases, qualify for the tax abatement. And then the only other thing that I would add is that the tax abatement is set at the local level, but it cannot exceed 100% of the property tax rate, right? So it can't effectively be an abatement for other taxes. And I think that's all.
I'd really be curious to have an opportunity to get some input from some of the people who have expressed interest in the idea of this, if they understood what all the compliance would be about. It's not like, oh, I have a year-round lease, therefore I get a tax abatement. There's a lot more hoops, and I wonder how much interest there would be when people understand the complexity of compliance to it before we adopt it. So I think more research for sure before we move ahead with it. And I don't know whether we can put it on the books and then not implement it, or whether we just wait to put it on the books.
I tried to look into that second half because I know it came up last week, and I think it's probably best to talk to town council about that specifically. But
that wasn't a question for you. It's just a rhetorical question.
Yeah, absolutely.
My guess is this doesn't come off the levy limit. This just reallocates, is my guess. So if we have 10 of these and they all, are a dollar less, that dollar, it's $10, that'll get split among everybody else. My guess is this is not going to be, taking away money from the town. That's a mistake sometimes, is people think that taxes, I pay less. It just means someone else pays more, because we have a set amount. And Brian will correct me if I'm wrong, but anyway.
Malcolm, did you have a question?
Yes, I have a question. So you're in one of these properties and your AMI gets increased. Do you get thrown out?
I don't know the specific answer for this program to that question. I mean, you wouldn't get thrown out. My assumption would be that it may impact the ability to get for the homeowner to get the tax abatement either in that year or future years. But based on the way monitoring typically works, it would not, you monitor to qualify as a tenant, and then you would do it again in the future. And at that point, you would find out whether or not the homeowner still qualified for the tax abatement, would be my sense.
I think we need a lot more information.
Thank you.
And the housing staff knows that, so they're working on it.
Definitely. Thank you.
But this is a good start.
Yes. Thank you, Dylan. Okay, that was housing. The financial and/or ballot questions and the list of possible debt exclusions. We are working on preparing an update for you all on the Island Home after October 31st, hopefully sometime by the end of November, early December. And there was one other financial related item that came in from finance, which is to establish a tax title revolving fund. And this is in response to some new tax title legislation that was enacted last year. So that's just an update, and you'll get another one on November 5th.
Brooke?
I just want to circle back to the noise bylaw. I have been talking to Carol Greenberg about an outreach plan to encourage people who would be affected by the change in the noise bylaw, the proposed change, to come to our next meeting in 2 weeks. And because we're planning to talk about it specifically, and that was my request, that we offer business owners the opportunity to come and speak on it before we decide to move it forward as a board. So I just want to make the statement that if you think a change in the noise bylaw as proposed will affect your business, we want to hear from you in 2 weeks. And Carol's doing some outreach by letters to the editor and through the chamber to try to reach people, but I just want to reiterate it here.
Thank you. And maybe we should have an update on any complaints. Right? How many complaints? And the town manager's report is off. Erica, you said you had one announcement.
Sorry, I do. I just wanted to note that today's house move that came from 51 Oma Way and is slated to land at 65A Surfside Road made it as far as Lovers Lane by Orkawa Avenue. So they will resume the move tomorrow. They will not start until after 8 a.m. to allow school traffic to get through, but the boulevard is pretty much going to be, and Surfside Road, they're going to be busy, and you're going to want to take detours. And there's going to be power outages, so just plan ahead. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Erica, can you say the location again for the route so people understand where they should avoid?
So it's going to start at Lovers Lane at Orkawa. It's pulled off on the side of the road there. They're going to continue on Lovers Lane up to the boulevard, take a right on the boulevard to Surfside Road, and then pull on to Surfside Road and go to 65A, which is in between Myacomet Road and Myacomet Ave. So just please plan ahead, take detours if you can. I know the Nantucket Current already took my email and put it out there.
Bring food and water.
Thank you.
And thanks everybody for their patience, because.
And are there any committee reports?
We did our strategic plan, and I think that went very well. And on page 47 earlier, there was a picture in there about we were doing for the master plan, we were doing consensus building, and I was advocating strongly for that because that consensus building is, I think, the missing piece for some of our really tricky things like the Island Home and some of these other large things. I think we need to bring the public in and get their input and get their advice and get their, and bring them in 3, 4, 5 times before we go out and try to get something past town meeting. I think that's the missing part of this. And I took some planning seminars over the last year or so in sort of about that whole topic. And what people said is by the time they've done that enough, the public is ready and they're bored of hearing about it. And I think unfortunately, we sometimes don't have all the information done in time. We haven't done all the analysis. We haven't had all the public. And then we're trying to convince people to do something. And they're like, oh, we don't know. What is this? What is that? And it doesn't work. And I think it's the one thing I think, and it's going to be hard and it won't happen right away. But I think on some of these more complicated, contentious, expensive things, I really think that we need to put that into our government somehow. And so that, and I was, I wasn't going to say that tonight, but then I saw the picture of the master plan and it was done really well for those couple days. And so I just, it encouraged me to speak out again. Thank you.
Anybody else? Is there a final motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Is there a second? All those in favor by roll call, Malcolm McNabb,
Yes.
Matt Fee, Brooke Moore,
Yes.
Tom Dixon,
Aye.
Don Hill, we're adjourned. Thank you.